So the Reverend John Molina-Moore has been General Presbyter at National Capital Presbytery for 7 years? 6 years. And previous to that, he worked at Western Presbyterian Church. Previous to that was at a church in New Jersey. In Delaware.
And that was at Northminster also in DC.
In DC. And John brings, as we picked up from the message today, just a creative approach to how to be the church in the 21st century. And all the churches in our presbytery are benefiting from this creative approach so that we can do new things. They started a whole, maybe you'll talk more about this, the New Things Initiative. And so we had planned to have John with us on in 2020. We had the date set, we talked about it, and then COVID hit, and so he sent us an online sermon, and that was on Pentecost. You may remember 2020. I still remember your sermon from 2020, and it was this idea of breath, how the Spirit gives us breath, and that was during COVID when it just started, and we were having sort of trouble breathing. So I still remember that was really a meaningful message, as was today's message. We're so grateful that you're here. Let's welcome the Reverend John Molina-Moore.
We're going to talk about something that, as I'm looking around the room, might be a little bit scary. There's nothing that's going to be offensive that's coming, okay? It might be a little bit scary because it is going to be an invitation to think a little bit beyond what, and I'm in the same camp, what we have all known of what it means to be a mainline Protestant church, right? Who is the Lutheran woman here? So hope you all know a mainline, but just in case you don't, right? That's Presbyterians, Lutherans, Episcopalians, Methodists, UCC, you name it, right? Yeah. To everybody else who's driving up and down River Road right now, to them, we, the Lutherans, the Methodists, the Episcopalians, the UCC, even the Baptists, to them, we look, taste, sound, smell identical. The greater community does not know, and I will argue, doesn't really care about the tiny differences, which are all governance between our mainline denominations.
Many of our members
don't, exactly. Every week at some place, right? So, layering all of that, right, to what we're going to dive in today of like what the church might take on in the next generation to come. I'm going to open this with a brief analogy, which is a made-up fictional story of a son who is preparing ham on Easter for his family. And he goes out and he gets the fanciest, nicest ham that he can. And he's getting ready to cook for the family. And he cuts off the two ends of the ham. After it's already been prepared by the butcher and everything, he still cuts an end off the front and off the back. Puts it in the pan, cooks it. A lot of family are there, a lot of new family. A sister-in-law is there. And she says, why is it that you cut off the ends of the ham before you cook it? He's like, well, that's what my mom always did for preparing for Easter. That's how I was raised. That's how we made ham, right? Mother's there because it's Easter, family gathered. So this sister-in-law goes down to the mother and says, why did you cut the ends off of the hams? When you cooked ham, before you put it in the pan, before you cooked it, she said, well, that's what my mother did. And grandma's there. And grandma grew up in the Depression in the 40s. And so we go find grandma and we say, Grandma, why did you cut the ends of the ham off when you cooked it? I didn't have a pan big enough to cook the ham. And so the overwhelming majority of what we might feel like to be tradition. This is how it's always been. By and large, were some preferred practice that people before us got into, and we got locked into that, and now this is the way that we always do things. And we forget that we stumbled into that out of necessity, out of a good reason was why we did. So the invitation today is for us to think about the church beyond the preferred practices that all of us in this room inherited, that came before the giants who all came before us, who held the churches together, who held presbyteries together, who held denominations together. They gave us a lot of preferred practices that we took as land locked in tradition, and this is how we do it. No time more than ever is now for us to think about that. So we're gonna think about the church in hopefully some creative ways. If my little clicker button is not working,
click your screen first.
Oh, it's not on the what's it called? Here we go. Let's see. Oh, all right. Continuing with our imagery. We are here. We are people, not doing our best to live on this land and navigate and find out how we're going to be in better relationship. The calling of God for us is to think beyond what we're doing right now, and how do we go to some type of next place, and how do we bring all people with us into that next place that we might be going, which is over here. Nobody's ever been there. We don't know what the new reality could be like if we all cooperated better and got along. That's the hope God has for us, but we're stuck here for right now. So in order for us to get over there, what do? We need a vote. Votes are convenient because they can hold a lot of people. They have a way to harness something to get them into a direction. Some of them have engines, some of them have sails. They all have some type of rudder that helps direct where we're going to go. So we as the church, we're called to build boats, to build things that are going to hold people together as we travel out into this unknown where God is calling all of humanity to go and to be. It's somewhere out there. We don't have a map. Nobody's been there. No culture or society that has ever walked planet Earth has fully lived that out yet, where everyone is seen as equals and nobody goes without. We have not seen it, but we have faith that it's still, we can still do it. So we build these boats. We build institutions that are designed to gather people together and to go out and look for it. Trusting the Holy Spirit to put wind in the sails, trusting the Holy Spirit of a current in the water, trusting God is leading us out on that journey. Somewhere out there is an iceberg. And we, as the forget Presbyterian Church, mainline church, we've seen this iceberg coming for a while now. We're in the midst of an already impact of this iceberg. Our numbers are declining as the numbers around us are skyrocketing. The bounds of our presbytery, which are Washington, D.C., we're easy in Maryland over here. 5 counties in Maryland, 2 of which we don't even have a church inside of. And 5, because Virginia's weird, 5 jurisdictions, which are really counties in Virginia. The last census data of all of those regions that's inside the bounds of our presbytery, your guess as to how many people are in there? What? 5.5 million people. Wow. 5.5 million people. I said this morning, anybody remember how many members are in the National Presbytery? 25,000, 0.000 whatever of 5.5 million. Our average Sunday morning attendance as a presbytery, right? Which means somebody, they might not be here. Somebody is counting how many people sit in your pews every single Sunday. They put that on your statistical report from your clerk, and we calculate all of that around the whole denomination, right? So our average Sunday morning attendance as a presbytery, which includes Easter and includes June 30th, right? The Sunday nobody wants to come to. Counts all of those. Our average Sunday morning attendance is just under 10,000. Another zero in the percentage of who we are gathering of the 5.5 million people. So we are on a decline. This shall not be news to anybody. We have already made impact with the iceberg. Our boats, the way that we know them, are headed to the bottom of the ocean. There is no correction. There's no correction that we can make to change that. We have already made impact with the iceberg. The way that we have known the church is headed to the bottom of the ocean. The church is still out in the water, moving God's people towards something else. The way that all of us in this room, which we inherited, we did not create this, it is headed for the bottom of the ocean. And I want to be clear of what I'm talking about. That is headed. Oh, let me make sure I'm on my right order. Besides that, say something that I just backtrack on. We're gonna clarify what we're talking about in terms of what is actually going down. Right. So we're headed down. It doesn't change the fact that the calling of the church from God has not changed to bring everybody to a more holistic, welcoming, just way of being, to live into the kingdom of God. That calling has not changed. That calling is sink proof. That calling is waterproof. That calling is ultraviolet light from being out in the waterproof. It is everything proof. It is what we are actually called to do as the church, is to gather people and head over here to that land. So if the ship, the way we've known things, is headed toward the bottom of the ocean, we are still called to go there. We are going to have to think of new and different ways that we do that. There are things that are on those luxury cruise ships that we can still use to continue on our journey. You might try this. I don't recommend it. You're out completely on your own, but at least you are not going down with the ship. Maybe something that we were not anticipating as part of the plan shows up. Maybe, and we find an even more creative way to get us there. Maybe God provides something else that we were not thinking about just yet. Maybe one of those. Maybe something completely outside of anything we've thought of. Maybe that shows up to get us over there. What will not work is this. This image is meant to be a luxury cruise line. Who has been on a cruise before? I have only gone on 2, and I will go on 0 more. Part of it is because it was a Disney cruise. 2 little kids, so they had a blast, but it did not work on me, right? But cruise ships are designed to need nothing from when they leave Fort Lauderdale to when they get to wherever it is that they're going. They are designed to need nothing. You were supposed to have all things that you need while you are out in the ocean. And because of American Christendom, of good will from the greater community, we had the luxury of building luxury cruise liners. We didn't build speedboats. We didn't build canoes. We didn't build kayaks. We didn't build sailboats. We built luxury cruise liners in 1900 through 1969-ish. We had the luxury of building cruise liners. There was goodwill. Of course, we're going to build a new development in this part of Montgomery County. So, hey, Presbyterian Church, Lutheran Church, here's land. Please build something because we know the good that the church will have for the community. So we took advantage of that, which is a great thing to do. And we built luxury cruise liners. I go to churches in our presbytery that have maybe 30 members on the rolls, and some of them have 3-story education wings with 15 classrooms in them, floors that current elders of the church have never been into before. We inherited luxury cruise liners that were built for a day and time, and they worked very, very well. We did a lot of things in American culture because of that, right? The church is one of the reasons that we actually have a public schooling program, right? We did things very well for the communities with our luxury cruise liners. But they're old. They've already made contact with the iceberg, and that iteration of the institution has officially lived out its shelf life of expiration. What we will do, what will be all of these things, what will not go down under the ocean to the bottom of the floor is worship, is coming together as God's people, as a community of people, to pray with and for each other, to hear the word read and then proclaimed, not just from a pulpit, from a pastor who's got a master's of divinity from an institution. We will have it proclaimed by the people in all kind of creative ways. We will still respond to that proclamation by giving of ourselves, our time, our energy, our talent. We will still celebrate the sacraments. We will come together of those moments of baptizing and of offering the Lord's Supper together. We will still worship. Maybe that happens on Sunday. Maybe that happens at 10 o'clock. I'd advise it not to because we already lost the soccer battle a long, long time ago. Maybe. Nowhere in Scripture, nowhere in our current book of order does it say 10 o'clock Sunday morning is when the people will come together and worship. The people will come together to worship. Ideally on the Lord's Day, but we can have flexibility. We will always worship. We will be strong in spirituality and hospitality, which means we will be welcoming places for people who are eager to know more about the divine, eager to have their questions answered, and maybe even asked more of how they see and who God is. Little background on me, I'm from San Jose, California. I grew up Presbyterian my whole life. Not everybody knows this. West Coast Presbyterian is a different denomination than it is from East Coast Presbyterianism. I thought I grew up in a white church because it was the most amount of white people of anything that I did. And we were probably, I don't know, 42% white, right? I thought I was in a white church. And then when I came to the East Coast, I was like, oh, this is what a white church is. For a year, everybody is white. Okay. So anyway, my brother and sister grew up in the same church, went to the same youth groups, went to the exact same summer camps, had the almost identical faith formation experience that I do. Both of them still believe in God. Both of them still are eager to hear what Jesus is offering for them. Neither of them are involved in a church. They've tried. One lives in Kitchener, Ontario, which is a suburb of Toronto, and one just moved out to Dayton, Ohio. They've tried beyond Presbyterian to go into a church. I'm curious. Somebody there is going to help. Somebody there is going to know. Somebody there I'm going to have a conversation with I have these refs and questions, and I want to be able to explore it. And then they leave, like a Sunday of Easter. They leave and they call me and they say, John, why did that not work? These are the doctors. Isn't this where I'm supposed to go to engage my spirituality? But we have lost that. So we have a strong spirituality and hospitality. We are welcoming people as they are with all of their questions, fears, and doubts to not conform to how we are, but to experience the living God. It will, as long as it's Presbyterian here, it will always be led by the people. That more than anything else, that is what it means to be Presbyterian. That we are led by the people. We're not led by a person. We're not led by one dynamic personality. We are led by the people. We will make decisions on who we are, what we're going to do, what our priorities are going to be. We will do it by the voice of the people. We will continue to partner in God's mission for our neighborhood, our larger region, and around the world. We will build wells in Kenya, and we will advocate for clean water in Flint, Michigan, and we will make sure that kids in Southeast DC have access to good schooling. We will still partner with God's mission for all things, all people in all corners of everywhere on this earth. And we will still, these are not new discoveries, we will still be faith communities that develop disciples of Jesus. Not to be Presbyterians, not to be just PCUSA Presbyterians, not to be members of whatever the name it is, Presbyterian Church, but to follow Jesus. And if we encounter people and they have now a spark of knowing who Jesus is, and that doesn't translate to membership here, wonderful. We have sent them on their journey of what it means to be a disciple. Here's what we can't do. Here are the parts that are actually going down into the bottom of the ocean. Large facilities whose primary use being Sunday and really should be Sunday morning. Before COVID, the average use for ministry of PCUSA congregations was 12% of the week. 12%, which is primarily Sunday morning. Maybe there's a Bible study on a Wednesday evening. We cannot have these gigantic facilities that suck time and energy, and most importantly, money, so that we can have a place, a nice place to have Sunday morning worship. We cannot be reliant on givers for our financial sustainability. The giving trends have changed. I'm born in 1983. I am an elder millennial. My generation and down is not giving at the rate of what previous generations gave to one organization. We are giving, but we are widespread, and we are more interested in giving of this than this. We cannot be reliant on our financial giving to keep all of the luxury cruise liner afloat. We cannot have what you all are fortunate you haven't got into this, and I hopefully never, but yet reliance on outside tenants. We have many churches in our presbytery who are living check to check and are held together by an outside tenant who is now renting a floor of their education wing or renting the entire education wing, right? Who there's a tiny 40-person congregation that has 2 sanctuaries and a chapel that seats 200 people on their grounds. Every corner is rented to somebody else because that's how they keep the lights on. That's how they pay their, what is she, 3rd-time pastor's salary. There's a church I'm dealing with right now who had a school that surprisingly, which shouldn't have been a surprise, left their lease and walked out. And that was $160,000 of lease. And now they are considering closing, right? It cannot be off of outside tenants that are not in ministry partnerships for us to held together. Full-time professional clergy and staff. 102 congregations, 39 cannot afford a full-time pastor. Right now, 8 of them have no pastor, some of them for 15 years. There are 23 churches left who have an associate pastor on their staff right now. We are going to have to think about this differently. The Board of Pensions, which handles our retirement and our health care, they enroll, or they move into retirement 420 to 30 people a year. That's what the past 5 years have been. How many people they move into retirement, and they bring in 215 to 220 every year. We don't have the people to replace all the seats in the denomination. So the idea of a full-time pastor committed to your ministry might be headed down to the bottom of the ocean. Christendom model of the Center for Institutional Knowledge and Acquisition. There used to be telephones in the White House that people like me and bishops of denominations could call and have voice and priority into our system. That day has long been gone. We are no longer the holders of the truth and the moral torchbearers for culture and society the way that we once knew it. Professional volunteers, you probably have many of those. The 7 people who do everything that don't get paid, they're called professional volunteers. That's headed down. New members for us to assimilate, which means come and do all the things that we're doing, right? We don't want your new way of thinking. We don't want your identity. We want you to replace the seats of the people who left, and we need you to sit just like they did, right? We need you to serve just like they did. We need you to continue the Advent dinner or the Easter egg hunt or the VBS, whatever it is, exactly like they did. New members to assimilate, down with the ship. Goodwill from wider culture, which is more of the Christendom institution piece here, and doing it alone. We have thought that we needed to do it alone. Mine and Emily's multiple predecessors ago were pastors, were very territorial and concerned. I can't possibly partner with somebody else because my members might like what they're doing better. And that's scary. That's terrifying. They might have a better youth group. Their associate pastor might be more dynamic than ours is. And I'm terrified territorially to partner with anybody else because we might lose people from that. But that has only further isolated us onto our journey to the new reality. No more cruise ships. Questions? Comments. This is not meant to be a what are you wrestling with? What are you thinking?
Very profound, your discussion, and a couple things. One is the things you presented on the new way of looking, I think were very powerful, a different way of conversing with people coming in as opposed to us and them kind of an approach that you got to join our way of thinking as opposed to we want to understand what your questions are and kind of make you part of the thinking process. But in the chart you just talked about, well, let me say one other thing. It strikes me that there are some church examples, I've seen them, particularly down south, but in other parts of the country as well, that are non-denominational churches in particular that seem to be growing by leaps and bounds with significant numbers of young people. I mean, to some extent, I've been in some towns, again, down south, visiting family members and so on, where like Sundays, I mean, you wouldn't know it's Sunday here because everybody's doing their thing. It's sort of unusual to drive to church on Sunday if you just look at the general community.
Yeah.
But in these places, everybody's going to church. Yeah. Sunday is like shut down. So I often wondered, okay, what are they doing that is creating growth and success? I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I think these list of items are very critical, are very important. The other list of items that are going down with the ship, some of them, which I understand, by the way, but some of them in terms of like, you know, pastors and leadership in the church is very helpful in attracting people, but also having the right, let's say, cultural environment within which people feel welcomed, as opposed to feel, when I go to church, I'm going to be judged somehow one way or the other. So I get all of that. So you've brought up a lot of good points, but you've also raised a lot of good questions. Okay, so how do we get there?
Correct. Great. So yes, first on that, the culturally, the southern part of our country is, and this is not a value statement, is always a couple of years behind, especially the Northeast and the West Coast of where cultural trends are headed, right? So my my equivalent in Charlotte Presbytery and Atlanta Presbytery, which are gigantic presbyteries still. We still have massive Presbyterian churches in there. They have a tremendous amount more of not necessarily young, but candidates for ministry in their pipeline. We don't. Philadelphia, worse than us. New York City, worse than Philadelphia. Boston and New England, almost non-existent, right? So that's just how it historically of all cultural things has moved. So there is still more goodwill of church in general in the South than there is the further north that you go. Does anybody know what the largest church in the DMV is?
Largest presbytery?
The largest church.
No, not that.
McLean Bible, right? That doesn't include all their satellites that they've done. It includes their. Is that even in McLean? I think it's like that's Tyson. Anyway, right? That main space is the largest church in the DMV. Their now membership is their membership trajectory is now looking like what the PCUSAs did in the 80s and 90s, right? It is coming for everybody.
Meaning it's declining.
Meaning it is plateauing, and there are already evangelical churches who have declined at the rate that we are now. So it's coming. It is coming for everybody. Some of us have hit the iceberg. Some of us are a millimeter away from the iceberg, and some of us are in a trajectory line for it. And there's nothing we can do to alter to not make contact. So it is coming for everybody. Yes.
Do you think the church has really failed the people?
Yes and no. Yes and no. We have failed. The way we have failed is prioritizing the needs of the institution over the needs of the people, which actually want to make up the institution, right? And I hope that everything I say is not a knock on institution. That's the nature of what humans do. We will continue to build institution, right? That's one of the beautiful things about what it means to be a human versus be part of the animal kingdom, right? We will build institutions. The versions will always be an ebb and flow and change, but we will always have an institution, right? So we have prioritized the institution over the people. A great example. You have a member of your church of Christ the King who is actively under the ordination track right now. And for those of you who are in the way we do Presbyterian ordination, you take, after you do your seminary coursework, you take these 5 very, very heavy ordination exams. And there's a member of Christ the King who's, like you can probably imagine, English is not his first language, has failed one of the ordination exams multiple times. And a previous administration to what's currently in the presbytery office right now just said, sign up again. Sign up again. Sign up again. This is how we assess whether or not pastors are ready to serve in churches, and did not factor in a person who's obviously called, well loved by the community already. Any conversation we have with them, you're like, this, you are meant to be a pastor. And we prioritize. It happens this way.
The
It happens this way. It happens this way. And now finally, we voted 2 Tuesday nights ago to offer an alternative examination, which we've always had the polity to do. But people prioritized, it happens this way. This is how it always happened for us. This is how it did it for me. So we have failed in prioritizing the institution over the needs of the people. And the way that we have still done well is that you all are still here, right? That it's not over. That we are still gathering people for worship, for discussion, for discipleship building, for community, to celebrate the special moments of people's lives. So we have failed the people, and I think that we are still doing the people justice and good service. Yeah, but that's a good question. Questions, thoughts, burning hot things. Tell me what you hate. Kick me out. Give me fired. Go.
So I'll speak for the crowd here. I think a lot of us are here because that's the way we always did it. But I think we remain because we are taking care of each other.
Correct.
And so the question is, how do we reach out from our own walls to take care of the community in this world that we're in today that's struggling?
Yeah, great question.
And the addition to that is, how do we reach out within the presbytery to get the 102 churches to help each other?
I got a lot of thoughts on that one. Which is a great one. The first one, and this is hard, is it sounds easy, but it's hard to actually go and listen to the people in the community. We have an exercise that we are offering churches. There's actually an event on next Saturday that you have to come to that is designed to how to go and listen to the community. And it's not to listen so that you then find your chance to slide in your card to say, well, here's what Pacific Presbyterian Church did. We hope that you join us. Is to listen to stakeholders in the community to find out what are the things they love about this community. What are the things they see as the glue that holds this community together? What are the things that the community is missing that we used to have and we don't have anymore? Or we now need one of these things, and for whatever reason, we can't, it's not getting put together. Okay, let's take that information back. Let's sit with our leadership in our church and let's discern, how do we faithfully then fill those gaps? What are the new ways that we are going to have a faith response to the actual needs of the community? But just kind of start listening. I, without naming names, I went to a church that's in a very high dense residential high-rise area. And I'm sitting, adult ed like this, I'm sitting in their some social room like this one's got windows on the side. And meeting with their mission committee is what that one was, mission community. And they were talking about outreach, who they connect with. I will say they were in Virginia and they were curious about how do they reach people on the other side of the river, right? I don't know what that means. And so they're like, who we possibly connect with out here? And I'm like, all I see are 30-story apartment buildings that I can literally throw a rock to because they're on the other side of the parking lot, right? So actually connecting with our neighborhood in ways that aren't off-putting, in ways that aren't judgmental, in ways that don't appear to be a kind of bait and switch. This is just a trick to get you to come and assimilate, but we actually care for you and we want to build something together with you. A good place for that to start. How many of you have children in the room?
You mean
Anywhere.
Old children.
Children, period. Offspring. Okay? Hands down. How many people in this room, children, are regularly part of the life of this church? Handful. Okay. How many people in this room, children, are regularly involved in the life of some church? It's not many. It's not many. So if we're curious about starting ways to start to talk to people, there is an easy starting point. Your own children. And to say, why? And without judgment, I know my mother would never be able to do this. Without judgment, what is it about church that you don't value? Why are you not coming? I'm not trying to correct you. I'm not going to try to say that you're wrong. I'm going to actually, my brother and sister, I call my brother all the time when I'm thinking of an idea like, hey, if a church did this, would this be something he is my filter. Would your family, would you be involved in this? And he'll tell me yes or no, and he'll tell me why it's a no, right? And I sit there and I take that in, I listen, okay, like that's not going to work. It's not going to work for Nathan Moore, then it's not going to work for the majority of people in the culture. So listening to the easy access that you all have that are a phone call away of why are you not here and what would attract you to a community of faith, and taking that in.
Or does the community of faith have to be here?
Oh,
Why do we have to get them to come here?
These things, these buildings that we call churches, they're not. These facilities we're talking about a 2,000-year-old tradition. These facilities, the oldest ones, maybe break 500 years, right? This physical iteration is not how the overwhelming majority of Christians who have walked planet Earth have done it. This is a new phenomenon. I am convinced that these facilities are the final nail in the coffin. And for some of them, it's already in the coffin. It has been nailed all the way down. And some of them, it's hanging up just a couple of feet above the coffin. Holding these things together are going to be what sinks the final thing that sinks this ship. The big scary idea that I have that probably zero people have taken me up on is, and this won't work for Potomac, so please don't hear me this on recommending you all do, is to think very differently about the property. And the big scary one of that is to say, we're going to sell it to the highest bidder that is legally writing. They are not building a gun shop or a strip club, right? We are going to sell that to the highest bidder. And then we as the community who are still here in this area are going to find where it is that we gather. And we're then going to do that for, I don't know, an Exodus journey. And we're going to still come together. We're going to worship. We're going to do fellowship. We're going to make sure we care for each other. And then when the Holy Spirit opens something else up to say, here's where I'm asking you to faithfully plant your $3.2 million that you got for the property into the new thing. Wonderful. We have a church that chartered in 2005 in our presbytery. They had the foresight to never purchase land, never had a building campaign. They rented a school and they bounced around to multiple different schools. They're in Brambleton, Virginia, which is an intentionally built community from 30 years ago. And then a developer was going to fix this old gigantic dairy barn for it to be an event center, a venue space, a community center space. And the city said to the developer, you have to put a church in there, right? We're only saying yes to you having this land and doing it. You have to put a church in there, and it's going to be Brambleton Presbyterian Church. And that church is the only one of every mainline and non-denominational group that ran out there to plant a church 20 years ago. We are the only ones that stuck. And we were the only ones who didn't say, let's try to build a church building. We're going to have our leadership focus on relationships inside of our community. And from that is amazing fruit of brand new, fully renovated, fully up-to-date space that they had to raise $0 for and pay $120 a month to offset the lights usage that they have in there. They get a sign out front. It's their space. So it's going to be hard for us to imagine what is if we're still too confined by the walls that we know now. I can go up on property for 2 more hours. Yes.
I'm sorry, just backing up to the previous discussion. Talk to family members or talk to friends or other people. How do we do that without, slipping the card, want to come to our church kind of thing as a high pressure campaign? Okay. But just talking about spirituality and what you believe. What I've seen in a number of situations, not only in my own family, but with other friends that I talk to, yeah, you kind of believe in God. It's an important thing, but things are going pretty good for me right now. I don't know if I need to prioritize that some of the way. And I don't know if this is correct or not, but when I look around the world and I see where Christianity in general, not just Presbyterian, but Christianity is growing, it's in places like in South Africa, China, other places where life is tough.
Yes.
Okay, so when life is going pretty good, Europe is a good example, by the way. Life is going good. I mean, churches are turning into restaurants. I mean, I
Crazy.
church over there. Except, cathedrals that are maybe 500 years old or something, with people just go and look and stare and gawk at. But in the U.S., also, life is generally pretty good. So when you go on out there and talk, particularly young people, it's important. My parents and, I kind of believe in God and I'm spiritually oriented. But, to go to this church and I just don't know the priority. And to be honest with you, and maybe others in the room as well, I feel frustrated because I don't believe, and I think most of the people here aren't feeling judgmental. I think it's a very welcoming environment that we have here. We've often mentioned that to other people. People, when they come, they feel welcome, part of a family, and that whole thing. But I just don't know the priorities that other people have when life is so good and they're doing well and they got all these things to do. You know, it's important. I kind of believe in it, but I don't. They almost need something bad to happen. I'm being a little dramatic.
So I don't want to handcuff you all the time, but I want to answer that, this is really good, right? And this gets into the core of what we are showcasing to the community, of what we prioritize in mission and ministry, right? So the first one is what we talked about today, what I'm doing for the least of these, right? My church needs to show to the world that we care about the poor, right? That is one of the number one things that Jesus asked us to actually do. Care for poor people, right? Those of us who are in comfortable lives right now, we care about the poor people. Those who are not in church care about poor people. We should be the ones that are helping to put together a way to actually then do that, right? And I think we just tip of our toe into that, right? Which of great things, youth mission trips, maybe we have a group who volunteers at Shepherd's Table in Silver Spring. We tip our toe in it, right? It's not an outward priority. And then the other one then is, on the surface, life seems great, right? I have 2 kids. We own a house in Silver Spring. Life is great. The isolation and depression rate of people in our stage, our economic status right now is through the roof. And we sit here silent about it. I hope I don't offend anybody. I'm not going to say anything offensive. An example of this. Internet pornography is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And for us to think, well, nobody in our church possibly wrestles with that. I know no Presbyterian church that dares touch that.
Oh no, we've touched it.
You guys have touched it. Okay. But I mean, like in a not just men, in a group, right? There's a chance to dive into all of this. There are spiritual needs that all of humanity have, regardless of your social economic status. And the church absolutely needs to be prioritizing addressing those for wealthy people and for those who are less off than us. All right, this is really good stuff.
Yeah. We
I
could stay and listen to you talk all day.
invite me back, everybody. This is my favorite thing to do the job. So
Rob, what's up next week? Is it David Bennett?
Yeah.
David Bennett. Oh, Gospel of John. Because as we're going through Year of the Bible, we're going into the Gospel of John. David Bennett is going to lead Bible class introducing the Gospel of John.
you guys got a good one in that. So
John, thank you so much.
yes, indeed.
Great morning. Really appreciate all the yeah.
What we can do